Yeah, eat and drink, having parties, um, turning to pleasure. In chapter 23, how long will Tyre be forgotten? In verse 13. How long will Tyre be forgotten?
70 years.
Yeah, verse 13 says it's 70 years. Chapter 24, what is the curse that devoured the earth? In verse 5. What was the curse that devoured the earth? In verse 5.
Actually, verse 6.
Okay, which is,
Those who dwell in are desolate, the inhabitants of the earth are burned,
okay. Chapter, chapter 25, who will glorify God? In verse 3. Yeah. And who will fear God? Yeah. God has been a strength to who? In verse 4. The poor and needy. Yep. Chapter 26. Where will the song be sung? In verse 1. Yeah. And the whole of chapter 26 is the song. In chapter 27, who will punish the fleeing serpent? In verse 1. Yeah, the Lord with his severe sword. A bonus question here. Who does the serpent represent? Anybody want to take a guess of that? Oh, well, yes. All those that oppose God, everybody that oppose God, that's who the serpent represents. So yeah, Babylon is part of that too. What was the downfall of Ephraim in chapter 28, verse 3? Yeah, being drunk, pride. Verse 16, who is the precious cornerstone, a sure foundation? Yes, Jesus. Chapter 29, who is Ariel? In verse 1? Which is? Jerusalem, yep. And whom will the Lord punish? In verse 6. And how will he punish him? Jerusalem, right? He's going to punish Jerusalem. And how? Verse 6.
Thunder, earthquake, and great noise,
And with fire. Yep. Chapter 30, verse 1. Who was this woe in verse 1? Who was the woe in verse 1 concerning? Yeah. Those who actually had trusted in Egypt instead of God in verse 2. In chapter 31, those who went to Egypt put their trust in what instead of the Lord in verse 1? Horsemen, their army instead of God, right? Chapter 32, who is this king who will reign in righteousness? Yeah. In chapter 33, who is exalted in verse 5? Lord. And who is Zion filled with? What is Zion filled with? Yes. What will be, what will be stability in your times? Verse 6. Okay, I had wisdom and knowledge. I don't know if I said that right or not. Chapter 34. Where is the great slaughter in verse 6? Edom. Who shall dwell in this land, in verse 14 and 15? Or what shall dwell in this land, in verse 14 and 15? Yeah, wild beasts in the desert, jackals, night creatures will rest there, arrow, snake, and hawks. Yes. Chapter 35, what shall rejoice in verse 1 and 2? Yeah. What will happen to the eyes of the blind in verse 5? Ear of the deaf. What shall the lame do? Yeah. And the tongue of the dumb? Sing. Okay. So we're moving right through Isaiah. Okay, since Dwayne's out and Ryan was supposed to teach, but he didn't want to give up his high school class, so I'm it. So we're on lesson 4, Isaiah 5 and 6. I'm going to do a little different than what Dwayne does. We're going to kind of talk about chapter 5 and 6 first, and then we're going to do the questions at the end. So start off with, let's read verses 1 through 7 real quick in chapter 5. Whoever gets there first can go ahead and read it. Okay, so this is about God's disappointing vineyard. And before we got into this, I thought it was interesting, how do you produce wine or a good vineyard? And he really goes in, the first 5 verses really tells us how to do this. Step 1, you got to clear the land, right? So what's involved in clearing the land? Right. Right. So what would you do with these stones that you cleared out? I thought this was interesting. Yeah. Yeah. You build a wall around it. What else can you do with the stones? Yes. Yes. That's important, right? Because you want to keep the marauders out and the people and stuff. So you got to have this tower. Somebody in there to guard your vineyard for you. What else can you do with these stones? This last one's a little harder to think about. I'll just tell you. All right, you could build a hut to keep the people that are working in the vineyard sleep at night. So you can do a lot with these stones. Step 2, you plant seeds. A lot of times you wouldn't have seeds though. What would they use to plant?
Already grown vines.
Yes, yes. They would take the vines, cut them, snap them off, and you do that with plants a lot, don't you? You put them in the water for a month or two, and they grow roots, and you turn them dirt. Same way here. They would plant the vineyard the same way. Step 3 is tending the plants. Okay. You've got to prune these plants. You're going to have to keep the weeds out from these plants. A lot was involved with tending the plants. Then you take several seasons to get good grapes. Usually the first season you're going to get good grapes. I know my dad had some grapes that he planted, and it took 2 or 3 years before we got good grapes. So it takes a while. Then you have to harvest the grapes, and you take them to a wine press. And what do we know about this wine press in these verses? Where was this wine press?
On the land itself, you dug a hole and put a wine press.
Yeah, you put a wine press in, and then, so part of harvesting, you would actually trod, you put the grapes in the wine press, and you would actually walk around and trod and squish the grapes, and then the juice would go down to a lower level, and then you would put that in a jar, and of course you'd have to ferment it to make wine. So that was step 6. Trod the grapes underfoot and place the juice in jars for fermenting. And what did God do with his vineyard in verse 5 and 6?
You realize it wasn't producing good fruit, he let it grow wild.
Yeah,
Stopped
burned
eating
it.
it.
He burned it, took the hedge around it, destroyed it. Yeah. It's a shame, you spend all this work making this, you put all this effort into it, And that's what he did with Israel. He put all this effort in it. He gave them everything they needed. And what did they do?
Forgot him.
Yeah. So this, I think this is a good analogy here that of this vine vineyard that God built. He spends all his time, prunes it, harvests. He never got good grapes, did he? Never did get good grapes from it. So he tears down the vineyard. And verse 7, we find out what does this vineyard represent.
House of Israel.
House of Israel, and what does the plant represent? Verse 7 also.
That was the people of Judah.
Yeah.
That was the people of the vine.
So we get a clear picture here of what's going on here. God just keeps on, doing everything he can for Israel, and yet he never got good grapes, did he? Any questions on that section? Okay, verses 8 through 23, the 6 woes upon the wicked, which talks about here. The first woe is verse 8 through 10. And it's greed. What were these landowners doing?
Head house to house and going field to field.
Yeah, they were buying all the property they can, wouldn't they? And finally, they had all of it. There was no room for the poor. They added on to the houses, the fields, and God punished them. They ended up with barren crops, didn't they? It has a lot of things here about amount of a bath, which is 6 gallons, an ephah, which is 1/10 of a homer, which is 6 bushels. So it's kind of interesting that grapes you would expect to yield about 1,000 gallons of wine per acre. And they weren't getting nothing near that out of their land. 1 homer of seed was expected to yield 10 homers of grain. It was opposite. They were getting 1/10 of a homer. So the land would not yield but a fraction of what it was normally would have been expected. So, any questions or comments on the first woe? All right, the second woe is in verses 11 through 17. It talks about it was against uncontrolled drinking and the luxuries of life. They had no regard for the work of the Lord had done for them. Verse 13 and 14, they were blinded by their misplaced values, which caused them to go into captivity or die. So that's a pretty bad situation there. So we can see that, partying, getting drunk all the time, it was just abusing the drinking. And they were punished for that. The third woe is in verse 18 and 19. They were committing evil. These who were defiant toward God, evil is their primary objective in life. Just as the cart follows an oxen when it's harnessed, so is sin that follows this evil person. They say that God is not at work in the world, so this is really a lot of really evil people here that this third woe is about. The fourth row, we're going to actually go over this in one of the discussion questions, was reversing moral distinctions. And let's just go there. Let's go ahead and talk about this while we're here. It's a thought question here on page 24. Can you make some modern day application in the ways in which 520 is occurring again? In other words, they make evil good and good evil. What are some things that we, today, that you could think of that's like that?
Like abortion?
Yeah, abortion, I thought of that. Very good. What are some other things?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind are these churches who say, we welcome everybody into our church. And it's a matter of pride for them.
Okay. Okay. I didn't think of that one, but that's a good analogy.
I was thinking more about like entertainment and how Hollywood makes sin entertainment, a point of adultery, the
Yeah.
people being with each other they have no right to be with, and that's supposed to be entertaining for us.
Yeah.
They push it around.
I was thinking,
Or like bad guys, like murderers are celebrated as heroes instead of the other way around like it should be.
yeah, I was thinking more of a common thing that we see day after day after day.
Homosexuality,
Yeah, that was one of them.
gay marriage, and then when it's brought up, it gets treated, when people bring up opposition to it, we get looked at like we're the villains for not letting love be love, or whatever they end up using.
Right, and we could clearly see over and over again in the Bible where it's condemned.
It's been several years ago, but it was like a gay couple were going to get married, and they went to this place to get their wedding cake, and they refused to make it, and they were trying to be forced that they had to do it. And I thought, well, if you don't want to do something for somebody, it's your business. But anyway, I think they closed up. They said they're not going to do it. They stood up for what they believed in. They wouldn't make it.
What else? I see this at work. Half the people that work for me weren't married, but they were living together. That's just a common thing, it seems like. That's
fornication, right? Adultery. And yet, it seems like it's a deceptive thing in our society. You think of anything else?
Any moral evil, really. I mean, if you can cheat the IRS, people will pat you on the back because, you know, you're sticking it to the man, even though that's theft. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Smoking weed is really bad for you, but you really won't find people saying that. They'll tell about all of the benefits, that it's not addictive, it does all of these great things for your mind. Almost any moral evil, there's going to be an argument of how great it is. Actually, you just think that it's bad.
Yeah, good point, Alan. Very good point.
They go to like casinos or racetrack, gambling, you know. Matthew 6:33 says you're supposed to seek first the kingdom of heaven, everything else will be given unto you. You have to go down there and bet all your money on something that may not happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we just live in a world, like Alan's saying here, that, you know, it just try to take on everything that's evil, you know, or spin on it, make it sound good. And it's not, you know. So that's what they were doing back then. There's a woe on that, and I think we could say today that there's a lot of things that we do here that, what are some good things that we say that's evil? We point out a lot of evil things that we say that's good, but what about some good things that are portrayed as evil? And I think Sam hit on one, you know, when we say that, you know, homosexuality is a sin, you know, hey, we're the evil one, right?
I mean, Jim brought up the point of that bakery being forced to being closed because they refused, as a private business, to not give somebody business and refuse some business, and they got treated as that they were the evil ones for, how dare you refuse this couple, their wedding cake or whatever.
I think anything that God calls a sin, they look at it as, you just don't tell anybody, well, the Bible says that God calls this a sin, and they're like, God is wrong.
There's a whole section of the internet that says getting married and having kids, that's actually a really bad thing. You shouldn't do that. You should actually have as many kids with as many wives as you can, because if you get married, well, your wife will just take all your money in a divorce anyway.
Yeah. You say that, I'm laughing, but there's a lot of people.
No, it's a real thing.
There are a lot of people that feel that way about it too. I know that.
Yeah. Well, and feminism has done the same thing on the ladies' side for years and years. You shouldn't be under the thumb of some man. Just be free and liberated, and you can sleep with whoever.
Yeah.
That's evil that's called good.
Yeah. Okay, so we get the point here that, you know, there's a lot of things today that we call good, evil, and evil good, and it's not right. It's where man makes up their own laws and suits their desires. So the fifth law, verse 21, is against deceit. They rejected God's counsel. They would have pride and arrogance. They think they are wise in their own eyes. So that was the woe that he was talking about here in verse 21. Then finally, the sixth woe is in verse 22 and 23. It was perverting justice and righteousness.
Bearing false witness.
Yeah, they accepted bribes from the rich and pronounced judgments which pervert all justice and righteousness. What was that saying?
I say, and deprive the innocent of justice.
Yes. So again, God condemns all these people. And verse 24 and 30, because they rejected the law of God, God's anger was aroused against them, and God would send a powerful nation to destroy both land and people here. In verse 24 and 30, he talks about that. Any questions on chapter 5? Okay, chapter 6, this is Isaiah's vision. I think this was a vision that he had with the prophet. I'll tell you what, there's only about 12 verses here. Let's read this chapter. Someone read the first 7 verses and then somebody pick up the last 7.
In the year of the king Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a high and lofty throne, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphim were standing above him, and each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And they called to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of armies. His glory fills the whole earth. The foundation of the doorway shook at the sound of their voices, and the temple was filled with smoke. Then I said, Woe is me, for I am ruined, because I am a man of unclean lips. I live among people of unclean lips, because my eyes have seen the King and the Lord of armies. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, and in his hand was a glowing coal, and he had taken from the altar with tongs. He touched my mouth, and with it said, Now that this has touched your lips, your iniquity is removed, and your sin is atoned for.
Okay, somebody read 8 to the end of the chapter.
Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here am I, send me. And he said, Go and tell this people, keep on hearing, but do not understand. Keep on seeing, but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull, in their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and return and be healed. Then I said, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities are laid waste and without inhabitant. The house are without a man. The land is utterly desolate. The Lord has removed men far away, and the forsaken places are many in this midst of the land. But yet a tenth will be in it, and will return and be for consuming. As a terebinth tree or as an oak, whose stump remains when it is cut down, so the holy seed shall be its stump.
Okay, so a lot of questions here. So when did this occur? Yeah, I have 139 BC. Whose death just happened?
Uzziah.
King Uzziah just died, right? And who is sitting on the throne here?
The Lord.
Yes. And what is said about his training robe here?
Takes up the whole.
Yeah, fills up the whole temple. Long robe of training. What was above the Lord here?
Seraphims.
Okay, and what is a seraphim? I think it's an angel.
That's what I said.
That's what the guy in the book said. He said it's a higher rank of angel, and it's only mentioned right here.
Yes, yes. There's a, the serpents in the wilderness that will bite people and kill them. They were a form of this. They weren't seraphims, but they were
Cherubim.
cherubims, okay, which was actually, the serpents were like fiery, right? They were poisonous. Right, they had to look at the statue so they wouldn't die. Remember that?
Well, that's what they put the cherubim on the ark, on the covering of the ark, the lid.
Yes, yes.
They had them like the facing and the wings towards each other.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that these seraphims had 6 wings. But I think the seraphim angels only have 2 wings or something. Anyway, this is the only place it's mentioned. But I think that they are a type of angel here. So, what is said about its wings? How many did they have?
Only 2 were used for one.
Right?
Two were used to cover its eyes, and 2 were used to cover its feet, and the other 2 for flying.
Yeah. What did one cry out to the other?
Holy, holy, holy.
Is the Lord of hosts, yeah. And what was the house filled with?
Smoke.
Smoke. And what did one of the seraphims have that touched Isaiah's mouth?
Hang on, let's go back to that, the smoke part.
Okay,
I think it was in here, I'd have to look at it again, but it's either that or I read it in the thingy underneath in the Bible, where they were saying that the smoke, that like, when God was in the temple, it was filled with smoke, you know, like the Holy of Holies, that it was just smoke. But they were saying something about like the seraphim were, you know, having the smoke. So that's kind of wondering about that, if it's,
okay. Yeah, I didn't read anything about that, but you're probably right. So it was the seraphims that was causing the smoke.
Martin, my Bible defines the word seraphim, literally means the burning ones.
Okay. Yeah. I was reading somewhere where it was actually like a serpent. But I think they were angels.
So,
Kind of like cherubims. The cherubims that, when Adam and Eve were forced out of the garden, the cherubims were protecting the tree of life.
Yeah,
And that flaming sword.
yes.
Jim, was your question about
The smoke.
the smoke because you didn't,
well, it
the
just.
question of the origin of it? Because it wasn't clear that God was there, but the cherubim were there? Well, I guess I'm trying,
Well, because, okay, they talk about the seraphim, you know, and holy, holy, holy Lord, the whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundation of the threshold trembled at the voice of him who called out. Okay, is that the seraphim that's calling out?
I
I'd
believe
say
it
yes,
is.
while the temple was filling with smoke. So, is it because of the seraphim, or we know that, like, smoke is associated with God?
Yeah.
He was, so,
Yeah, I just looked at that as, you know, God's kind of,
like a symbolic thing, like, kind of like I was thinking of it as y'all were talking, like it's like a symbolic or a sign that God is, like, he is
present.
present / approves of this, you know, anything in that kind of realm. I don't know what the right way to articulate it, but maybe that's,
Well, I always feel like that God is kind of hiding his identity a lot. Nobody sees God face to face. So this smoke may be part of that. I don't know, that's what I've always looked at, is the smoke is kind of hiding God's identity, his face. I don't know,
Kind of like a glory cloud.
yeah.
You know.
But anyway, it was filled with smoke. So what did one of the seraphims have that touched Isaiah's mouth? And what did it do? Yeah, purify him. So what did the Lord say to Isaiah?
Whom shall I see?
Yeah. And what was Isaiah's response to that?
Here I am, send me.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't have time to look this up. There's a song, when I was young, we used to sing it a lot, and it had those words in it.
here might send me.
Yeah, I don't know if it's even in our book. 'Cause I haven't sing it in a long, long, long time. So I don't know if it's in a book.
We sing it, we've sang it.
Evan?
Lord sent me.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah. Lord send me. Jeremiah send me. Okay, so I guess it is in the book. Is it? Okay. I don't remember seeing it in a long.
Is it holy, holy, holy? No, it's
No.
not. Okay.
There's much to do, there's work on every day.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Lord, yeah. Yeah, that's it. I guess we do sing that. The more I think about it. Okay, verse 11, Isaiah asked another question. So what does he ask in verse 11?
How long, Lord?
Yeah,
How long should I do this?
yeah, and what was the answer?
Until the end, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. In other words,
The-
they're gonna be, there's a remnant, gonna come back, and Israel's gonna be destroyed, and he's gonna be doing this through all that.
I mean, it kind of thinking about it, it's a little bit of a different scenario for him, because he's at the very beginning of what he's about to go through for the next, whatever, 60 years,
Yeah,
and he knows what the end is gonna look like. Because he tells him right here,
yes,
until the city's lying waste, until, it's without inhabitant, the houses are empty, like, there's not, I can't, at least off the top of my head, there's not a lot of cases of where people know what the end result is gonna be, or where they're gonna finish up,
and Isaiah knew that.
and Isaiah did that,
Yeah.
kinda interesting.
Well, see, when Isaiah started, whenever he started here, Israel, the 10 tribes had not even went into captivity yet till 722. So he's gonna see that go before the other, he'll look like he doesn't see
Yeah, you
Judah
know,
going to
he's
captivity.
prophesying, he's telling these people what's gonna happen, and it just seems like it goes in one ear out the other.
They're eating and being merry and partying down, thinking, that they're doing everything they're supposed to do, but actually they're not.
Yeah. This holy seed, who is he talking about here at the end of the chapter?
Well, it's Christ, because the remnant, the holy seed was a remnant part of David from which Christ would come.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So whose stump remains when it is cut down, so the holy seed shall be its stump. That's definitely, I think, talking about Christ. Okay, any questions on chapter 6?
Hey, I do have a question. I am not familiar with all of the kings, either of Israel or Judah. But in chapter 6, he starts out that King Uzziah had died. And then in chapter 7, he starts out that Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, was king. So apparently, when Uzziah died, Jotham took over for a short while. Is that what it is? And then Ahaz came along.
That's a good question. I think you're right. That's a blank question.
And was Ahaz a bad king?
He was.
He was.
In
His-
Judah, he was a bad king in
He
Judah?
was. His father
Okay.
was, more faithful, and so was Hezekiah's son.
Okay. All right.
Ahaz was very bad.
Hang on, we got the instruction sheet here, all we gotta do is open it up.
That was one of my questions, was Hezekiah was his son, but, they said that, Ahaz offered his other sons to Molech. And I was like, I guess God watched out for Hezekiah, because he knew he was gonna be faithful.
I saw the list of these kings somewhere. I don't know where it's all.
Okay,
Chuck, in 2 Kings, I used my search thing, I don't know this off the top of my head.
Okay.
But in 2 Kings 16:1, it says, in the 17th year of Pekah son of Remaliah, Ahaz son of Jotham became king of Judah. And so it says Jotham built the upper gate of the Lord's temple. look extensively on the wall of Ophel. So it does seem like he ruled for a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. You got Uzziah, ruled 52 years, so when he died, Jotham, and he went 16 years. And then Ahaz was 16 years, and then you get to Hezekiah.
Okay,
And then he went to 29.
okay, so
Thank you.
you're right. Okay, let's see how many questions we can get through here. In chapter 23, Israel is rebuked by the song concerning what? Vineyard, okay. Number 2, the first of 6 woes is the 5th chapter is against what? The wicked, or I have greed,
Yeah, drunkenness.
yeah. Those who follow strong drink regard not, nor consider what?
The warnings of the Lord.
Yep, verse 12. Number 4, those who draw iniquity with cords of vanity, openly pound sin upon sin, actually say what words?
Let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see.
Yeah, verse 18. The 4th woe is against those who say, what about good and evil?
Good.
Yeah. The 5th woe is against whom?
People are wise in their own eyes.
Yep, wise in their own eyes. The 6th woe is against men who justify the wicked for what? Pride.
Right.
Yep. Number 8, what was the real cause that makes real root as rottenness? Yeah, they reject the law of the Lord. What vision did Isaiah see in the year Uzziah died?
Vision of heaven.
God on his throne.
Yeah, the Lord sitting on the throne with his 2 seraphims. What was Isaiah's response when the Lord asked, whom shall I send? Yeah, send me, I'm ready. Okay, true or false? Israel is said to be bound to captivity because they had no knowledge.
That was true.
Yeah, verse 13, chapter 5. The wild grapes that came up from the vineyard pleased the Lord? False, yeah, verse 2. Israel, like the vineyard, will be laid waste. True.
I put false, even though it's, because it is actually, that was said to Judah,
Since house of Israel being Judah.
but it was a warning to Judah.
Well, Judah was actually the plants, I think, wasn't it? Israel was actually the vineyard. Verse 6.
Yeah, that's right, Israel. It's a vineyard.
He kind of keeps switching. In the Bible, it'll say Israel, then it'll say Judah. Israel. But there was a difference, because he was going to
Yeah,
Judah.
Israel's not the whole land. Judah's just,
I know, but see, Isaiah went to Judah. He didn't go to the
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right, number 5, Isaiah felt unworthy to speak the Lord's message.
True. He felt unworthy, that's why he said, I have unclean lips. And yet he hers from sin, and then he's ready to go.
Okay.
That's why I read it. That's why I read it.
Okay, appreciate y'all's comments and everything.
He was saying, it's kind of like Moses, remember when Moses said, well, I should.
Were you able to get it to work?
Yeah, they were, it gave me some kind of error, but it looks like all the sides are there. It said, and it was the wrong size, you know, I had to, but it looks like I read through it and like, it, hey, works for me. I mean,
not sure if I
Hey,
do.
I'm good with it. All right, so if we got you
I know Billy's here, Thaddeus is here. Oh, he's leading us in for
okay, what about last prayer?
I thought I saw,
Michael, them are not here.
I was looking at the wrong, I'll do it. I was looking at the wrong,
You gonna do it?
I'll do it.
That's all
I
right.
was looking at the wrong line.
Thank you. Sitting back here.
Are you in there?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
You get my sister. Yes, for sure. Tell her I said she was a sure.
All right, sister. About that time, didn't it? No. Thank you.
Yes.
Who's your son?
Oh, thank you. For not driving.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I've got a new song for y'all that very much pertains to our current study. In the kids' class, we just got to Isaiah 43, and the teenagers, we're just a minute ahead of them.
Oh, thank you.
But we will, you'll be reading this in a few weeks, I imagine. This is a song that a few of us may know, and I've been teaching the kids. But a beautiful song. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to sing it perfectly the way that it's written, because I'm going to try. So, but there's kind of a call and an echo when we get a little further in. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and the waves will not overcome you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. For I am the Lord your God. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. For I am the Lord your God. I am the Lord your God. I am the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I am the Lord. 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 So, we're going to practice that some more. And then we're going to try it again. And I'm going to train up one of the fellas to sing the bass part, and I'm just going to have to sing the ladies' bit like Greg used to, and then we're going to make it work. But it's a really pretty song when we get it all together. We'll hang that one up for tonight. We'll try it again.
We'll turn to Matthew 19, start at verse 1. He entered Jericho and was passing through. It's talking about Jesus, of course. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see Jesus, who was Jesus. He was seeking who was Jesus, sorry. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry down, come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried down and came down, and he received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He has gone to be with a guest of a man who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, that half of my goods I have given to the poor. I have defrauded anyone of anything that I restored it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, since he is the son of Abraham. For the Son of the Man came to seek and save the lost. I don't know why I can't read tonight. So, we all know the song, and we all know the story and everything. I want to consider some other lessons from Zacchaeus, because most of the time we stop at the fact that he was small in stature. That's pretty much where we stop at. But Zacchaeus had a few other problems going on for himself, as it was anyway, because it points out right off the bat that Zacchaeus was what they call a publican. He was a tax collector. So, I know we all love the IRS, but they didn't like tax collectors, because these Jewish men are coming to them and collecting taxes for another nation, which is the Romans. So it was not a very popular job. And he was known, as you saw, as a sinner later. Not only that, but he was a chief among them. He was an official among them. So probably his own people, his own tax collectors probably didn't like him, since he was over them. So he's got all kind of peer pressure going on here, people disliking him. He was also rich. Now, Jesus came, most of the time he's seeking people that are poor and lowly. And, he also teaches that it's hard for a rich person to come into the kingdom of heaven in Matthew 9:24. And no matter how honest Zacchaeus is and how he got his riches, it really doesn't matter, because they're going to look at him and say, hey, he's been skimming off the top. That's how he got his riches, no matter how he did it, just because he is a publican, he is a tax collector. So, it was just the way people were going to look at it. And then he was short. Short people got no reason, you have no idea. But, the popularity of Jesus was so great at this time that it was hard to get to him. We see people just trying to touch the hem of his garment. They could just touch the hem of their garment. And then we see them, having to knock a hole in a roof and let a man down through to see Jesus, because the crowd pressing him. And then, his family couldn't get close to him in certain instances. So, it's really hard for him to get close to him because of his stature, and he was having trouble with that. But he has this great desire to see Jesus. And so he runs ahead of the crowd. Now he's running. From what I've read, people of officials, and we're officials, and people that are rich, they didn't run. No, they're not running. They're too good to run. But no, Zacchaeus is running. He's getting ahead of the crowd. He sees that tree. This is my chance. And he's headed for that tree, and he's climbing up a tree. An official, an important man climbing a tree. So, you just see these things that he is doing to try to get just to see Jesus. And so, Jesus, he knows his sheep. He knows the sheep by name. He calls them out by name. Zacchaeus, come on down. Hurry down. I'm coming to your house today. And what does he do? He hurries down. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't make any excuses. He doesn't try to figure out a way, to to get out of this or anything, he hurries. He's really excited about this, just to be in Jesus' presence. Now, this verse is kind of interesting. In verse 7, they all grumble. Who is everybody? Everybody's grumbling. So that makes me even think, even those that are following Christ are grumbling too, because they don't understand everything that Jesus does or why he does it. And so they're even themselves grumbling. It's not the first time, it's not going to be the last time either that they do that. So it's kind of interesting. So Zacchaeus counters by getting up and making the confession that he hasn't done anything wrong. He gives to the poor, and he hasn't defrauded anybody. And when he did, he did what the law told him to do. But even after all that, we know that that's still not enough. And even being the son of Abraham is not enough. He still needs Jesus, and he still needs the salvation of Jesus, which is exactly why Jesus was there and why he was there and came there. Zacchaeus ran. He didn't let his pride, his money, his peer pressure, his stature, nothing get in his way. He dropped everything, and he did what he had to do to get that salvation. And Hebrews 11:6 said, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Tonight, if you're in need of the salvation that Zacchaeus desired, you have an opportunity tonight, whether you need to put on cross baptism, or you need to repent of the life that you're living and turn back to God. We ask you to come as together we stand and sing.
I heard an old love story, how the Savior came from